Welcome to another class of computer programming. And in today's class, we'll be starting to learn about basic C programming, coming onto from the previous discussions about the algorithms and flowchart, and extending that into the next phase of our course, which would be structure of a C program. Along with that, we'll also learn about various different basic data types, type qualifiers, variables, constants, scopes of the variables, as well as assignment statements, operators, and operator precedences. A lot of things to cover. All of this may not be covered in today's class because of the time constraint. We'll continue this in the next class next week. But first of all, we'll look at the basic structure of a C program. And there are certain modules, or you can say sections, that are present in a basic C program. What are these things? Some of them are obviously absolutely essential. Without that, the program would not run. Others are optional and sometimes may not be required in a C program. Let us now see what are these different segments or sections that are present in a basic C program. First of all, there is documentation. Then there is preprocessor directives, followed by global declarations. Then there is the main function. And finally, there are user-defined functions. As I mentioned, some of them are absolutely essential. Others may not be required in certain types of programs. Now, one by one, let us go through these things. First of all, you have the documentation. It basically consists of comments. Comments at the beginning of the program that includes basic information about the program. What are these basic information? What the program does, what are its inputs, what it provides us as output. Also, a brief outline of the logical structure of the program may be provided. Suppose you are sorting a list. So which type of sorting you are performing, or which type of algorithm you have implemented in order to sort that list, can be mentioned over here. Along with that, some basic information of other type, such as the name of the programmer, or when the program is being developed. These sort of things can also be mentioned. Now, we must remember that these are not executable statements. These are basically comments. What is the function of this? Quite obviously, these are not essential to run the program. If you leave out this part, documentation part, your program should run once you compile it correctly. But documentation always helps someone other than you to get an overview of what is being done through that program. And what helps in this is comments. Another thing that you should remember from here is that comments are provided throughout the program. It can be provided throughout the program, not only just at the beginning. At the beginning, certain basic information, as mentioned previously and given here in these bulleted points, they are provided. But at all other places of the program, comments can also be provided to indicate what is being done at a particular line of code. So comments are used to provide information about the code throughout the program. As I've already mentioned, it is not limited to the documentation section at the beginning of the code. Now, there are two types of comments, single line comment and its counterpart, the multi-line comment. A single line comment is provided by double slash at the beginning of the line. So a multi-line comment is provided under this, that is slash asterisk, and at the end there will be an asterisk and slash. So within this, the comment may be provided, and it is multi-line comment, so it can go over multiple lines. For example, this is a single line comment. So double slash followed by the line which is to be used as comment. Whereas this one is a multi-line comment. You can see there are two lines. So if I write program written by Anirban Mitra, in the second line date 7th June 2021, then this entire thing, these two lines can be commented by putting the slash asterisk at the beginning and at the end asterisk slash. So anything that comes between these two is a multi-line comment. These comments, wherever it is, at the beginning of the program in the documentation section or somewhere in the middle, they are ignored by the compiler. These are non-executable statements. By the way, another thing that can be done is comments can be provided after a statement. So those are partial line comments. So if there is a executable statement, after that, if you provide double slash and write a line, that can also be taken as a comment. That would also be a non-executable statement and it would be ignored by the compiler. However, these comments are essential to understand a code when it is viewed by someone other than you who has written the program. So this is the documentation part. Just to reiterate, this is the first section that you can provide. It's obviously not essential to your program, but it is always a good practice to provide the comments or documentation at the beginning. Just a moment. Okay, we can continue.
Sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, in the documentation part, the thing is that how will we write the algorithm?
No, it's not required to write the entire algorithm. You can write what kind of logical structure you have followed. Suppose when you are, just to go back to that example of sorting, there could be bubble sort, that is selection sort. So there are different types of sorting algorithms that are present. So you just mention that bubble sort has been implemented through this program. Okay. Right. Only the name of the algorithm, if it is a named algorithm, or a certain idea about what kind of logical structure is being followed in this program. It's absolutely not essential to provide, but it's good for documentation. Sometimes it may happen that you have written a big code, say about 100 lines, and you are referring back to it, say after 1 month or 2 months. You yourself would need those specific comments, maybe documentation at the beginning, or even the comments in between the lines of code, to refresh your memory and get an idea of what you had previously done through those lines of codes. Okay.
Yes.
Let us proceed now. Now we come to the preprocessor directives. Now, as you can see, under this preprocessor directives, there are two segments. There is a linking section and there is the definition section. What is done here? This is basically instruction to the compiler to pre-process certain information before the actual compilation starts. Now, what do we mean by that? Certain library functions need to be copied onto the beginning of the code before the actual compilation can start. These are called header files. These header files contain information or certain lines of code which are already prepared and stored in the C library. So from there, those lines of code are actually copied onto
No, we
your
cannot
program.
hear you actually. So your voice is cracking.
No, it's
Is it
Sir, voice is clear.
is it
I
audible?
think it is from. Yes, sir, you
yes,
are
yes,
audible.
from Swapnil, it is from your end, I think.
Okay.
There may be a problem at the other end also. So I think we should continue.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you, all of you, mute your mics, because there may be some echo because of that. Okay. So let's continue. Now, all of these preprocessor directives begin with the hash symbol. So you have hash include or hash define, these sort of things. Now, in the linking section, the header files are copied. This is where we declare all the header files that will be used in your program. And it is basically an instruction to the compiler. The compiler is being told that link these header files from the system library to your own program. So a basic example of this kind of thing is hash include. Under brackets, you have stdio.h. .h files are header files. So what does it do? It copies the stdio.h file from the system library to your program. And this stdio.h is the standard input output header file. So now let us look at how this linking section actually works. So you have a source code, which is a C program. And in this C program, the first thing that the compiler would do is check whether there are preprocessor directives. Now, these segments are executed sequentially. So it starts with the documentation section. As soon as the compiler comes across the comments, it will ignore those comments. Then it will look for header files or linking section. So here, the question is asked that, are there any preprocessor directives? If no, then fine, it will go towards compilation. The compilation would proceed. If the answer to this question is yes, then the linking operation would be performed. And once it is performed, then it will go to the compilation. From the compiler, once everything is obtained, that means all the header files are copied and line by line your code is compiled, then you obtain the object code. From the object code, obviously, through the linker, you can finally get the executable code, which provides you with the output. So this is the function of the linking section. This is one of the preprocessor directives. The other part of it is the definition. We can define certain parameters, certain constants in this definition segment. For example, we can define certain symbolic constants here. Say you are writing a program to find out the area of a circle when the radius is provided. So you will need the term pi, the value of pi. So what you can do is, in this definition section, you can define the value of pi. So what is the structure that you follow? Again, you provide the hash, then the keyword define, followed by name, and then the replacement text. This replacement text could be, it's not limited to a number, could be a character as well. So what is this name? The name is the symbolic constant name. This is nothing but a sequence of letters and digits that begins with a letter. And it follows the rules for the rules of variable naming. We'll come across variable naming rules just a little bit later. And what about the replacement text? This is the symbolic constant value. It is any sequence of characters. Could be numbers, could be letters. But this is going to be replaced whenever the compiler comes across the symbolic constant name within the program. So, as we mentioned, we can define the value of pi as shown in this example. So you have hash define, then the symbolic constant name, which is pi here, and then the symbolic constant value. We know that the value of pi is 3.14159 and so on. So you can define the value of pi like this. But then again, this section is not essential. If you do not require a particular symbolic constant to be defined here, you can skip this section. However, if it is required, then it can be defined as shown in this slide. So any occurrence of the symbolic constant name within the program would be replaced by the corresponding symbolic constant value, which is pretty straightforward to understand. Now we move on to global declaration. Yes.
What is the difference between executable code and object code?
The object code is, it does not have the linking. That means everything is copied onto the same program, the .o file, but there has to be internal linking between different say functions and sub-functions and all that. From the main function, you can also call different user-defined functions, right? So those user-defined functions need to be linked with the main function as well. So altogether, considering the header files, the main function, the user-defined functions, all of them taken together, linked together, makes up the executable file. If you just give the command to execute that file, you will get the display window where you get the outputs. Okay. Now, compilers are different types of compilers actually work in different ways. Sometimes you will not get different object files and executable files separately. For example, Fortran compilers, that just give you a .obj file. There's so that is dependent on the nature of the compiler, how it works.
Okay.
Okay. So now we move on to the next segment, which is global declarations. Now here, certain variables can be declared that can be used anywhere within the program. That is, the main function or any other user-defined function can use these variables, and that is why they are known as global variables. The declaration rule or declaration construct is same as declaration of local variables that we'll see just a little bit later. Now, in this section, apart from global variables, you also see declaration of user-defined functions. So their declarations can also be done here. It's better not to write user-defined sections. You can cut this sections out and write this as user-defined functions. That would be better. Now we come to the main function. Before we discuss about the main function, let me say that C programs, whatever their size, consist of mainly two things. One is functions, the other is variables. Functions contain statements that specify certain operations that are to be done. These are, of course, computing operations. Whereas variables store values used during those computations. So mainly these two things are required. That is, to make up a C program, you need some functions and certain variables. Now let us come to what is a main function. Now this is a special function that is present in a C program. Why special? Because once everything else is done before this, that means documentation is done, preprocessor directives are done, linking, definitions, global declarations, once these are sequentially over, then the compiler looks for the main function. Why does it look for the main function? Because the execution actually starts at the beginning of main. That is why this is the main function. All other functions would be called up by the main function itself. So that is why it is called a special function, because a program starts executing at the beginning of the main. And needless to say, because it starts executing at the beginning of the main, every C program must have a main function. Usually you are at a liberty to name your own functions. So any user-defined function that you create, you are at liberty to name it. You can provide it its own name. Obviously following certain rules and regulations, but you can name it. Not the main function. Main function has to remain main function as it is. And as already mentioned, this main function usually calls up other functions, some of which are user-defined, of course, while some others are library functions, certain mathematical functions. Suppose you want to calculate sin x. So sin is already there in the library, C program library, so that function you can call up. Similarly, printf. If you want to display something on the screen, you can call up the printf function. So these functions, these user-defined functions as well as library functions, help the main function to perform its intended purpose or job. Now, what is the structure, construct of the main function? It is written like this. So it starts with main. Sometimes it may be written as int main. So here int may be present, and after main there is a parenthesis without any arguments in it. Yes, you wanted to say something?
Yes, sir. I mean, I have done C programs before, and there also is written void before main. I mean, what are the purposes of int and void and those things?
This is just declaring the type of the main function. Main function
return
actually
value will be, I think, will be the main integer if it's the int main, and if it's a void,
yes,
then there will be no return value actually.
Actually, main function does not return any value. Means this is the main function, right? This is the primary function that calls up everybody. Nobody calls up the main function. So the question of return does not arise here. So what you will find is that it's either void main or sometimes int main, but it is not going to be called up by anybody. So it does not return anything. Usually we end the main program as return 0 with a semicolon at the end of it. So that says that you are not required to return something. Where would you return something? Because main function would not be called up by anybody. And that also works here in this parenthesis also. That means you see that the parenthesis is blank. There are no arguments. So through those arguments, actually values come from other functions to a called up function. But as main function is not being called up by anybody, it does not have any arguments within that parenthesis. So this parenthesis would be blank.
So what are the functions of void and int and these things?
It is just declaring the type of the main function. A function has to have a particular type. There are certain basic data types that can be associated with different programs, right? So int means that a main function is of int type. This is just, you can say, structure of the C language that instructs us to do it like this. If you remove int, I don't think there would be any problem in running the main program. Obviously,
Yes,
other user-defined functions definitely has to have a type. Void means it's null. It's not going to return anything. Within the main function, you have two different parts. One is called declarations. Now, we have already come across declarations previously. Those were global declarations. These are local declarations. So any variables that would be defined here is only available within the main function. It is not going to be available outside of it. And after declarations are over, then you have the executable statements. And finally, you have the return statement. So these declarations are for variables that are used within the main function. And in the executable statement part, you at least need one statement for the main function to work properly. And finally, one must add that the statements of the declaration and the execution part needs to be terminated with a semicolon. You need to provide a semicolon at the end of each statement. And there is the return 0 part, which I mentioned previously. So that is as far as the main function goes. Obviously, after the main function, as and when required, user-defined functions can be provided, and they perform specific tasks, and they are called up by the main function. And they return values, different types of values, maybe integer values or sometimes floating point values, that is real numbers, or even character values can be returned to the main function depending on the nature of the user-defined function. Multiple user-defined functions can be there. They are usually called up by the user-defined functions, but one user-defined function can also call up other user-defined functions.
Sir, if you use void main, then do we have to write get ch at the end?
Maybe, yes. You will have to write get ch. Again, that is, we'll come to these things when we write the programs on screen. Okay, I'll try to explain over there what happens if you do not provide it, and if you provide certain other things, what would be the outcome. Now let us see which of these different segments are optional and which are essential. So as already mentioned, documentation is optional. However, it is highly recommended. In preprocessor directives, most programs require header files. So you can say it is essential. Definition is definitely optional. If you do not have anything to declare, you can skip this particular segment. If necessary, you can define it. Global variables, global declarations are also optional, and you can use it only when it is necessary. However, main function is essential in case of all programs. User-defined functions are required depending on what type of program you are developing and what is the purpose of it. Same program can be written with the help of user-defined functions or without those user-defined functions. So let us look at a basic program now that explains the structure of a C program. You probably have seen this program previously. It's a very commonly used program by Cunningham-Ritchie. There is just a slight modification to that. So we start with hash include within bracket stdio.h. This is the header file. Standard input output header file. Now, nothing else is provided in the definition or global declarations segment because this is a very simple program that we are going to be dealing with. Now, in the main program, you have these curly braces, and the declaration part and the executable part would be contained within these curly braces. Now, the simple statement that is present in this program is printf. So, a simple single line statement is provided, and that is contained within the parenthesis that follows the printf statement. Printf is again a function, and it is being called up by the main function to write out this statement. If you did not link or provide this header file right over here, printf would not have worked. There's the return 0, and that concludes your program. So basic 3-4 line program that would give you a display that says my name is Anirban Mitra. Now, those who have already done C programming as a course, for them these might seem quite trivial, but those of you who have not done it, I would more specifically speak to you that you need to write out programs in order to learn C. You have to write programs on screen to learn the details about these programming language. So even if you are getting errors or compilation errors or execution errors, do not get disheartened. Try to write as many programs as possible. Try to take help from your friends, from me, but do not give up on this. At the beginning, it will seem like quite difficult, but I assure you, it is not. It's very, very simple once you get the hang of it. Now, another program, which is to calculate the area of the circle, where the radius is put as the input value. Now, here we see another header file, which is math.h. Now, here, certain mathematical functions are copied onto your original program. So, the linking is done with stdio.h as well as math.h. Now, in the definition section, we have defined a constant, symbolic constant, pi. You would notice here that pi is written here in uppercase. So, in order to differentiate between variables within the program, maybe global variables or local variables, and symbolic constant defined in the definition section, this distinguishing feature is made, that is, symbolic constants are written as capital letters, whereas variables are written in small letters. However, it's a personal choice. You may want to skip this as well. In global declaration, there is nothing. Within the main function, there is the curly braces. After opening, we have the local declarations. Float means these variables can store real value. That means real fractional values can be stored within the float variables. If it was int, then the variables would have stored only integer values. Now, this variable is given a value of 10. That means the radius of the circle is 10. Then you calculate the area. You know the formula for it, that is pi r square. So, pi is used here. So, what will happen? As soon as the compiler comes across this symbolic constant, it will replace this constant with the value of pi that has already been defined. Pow is another mathematical function which will calculate the square of the radius. So, this is the r square value that is being calculated here. And finally, you print the area of the circle like this. Yes.
We have to take the radius as input, right?
No, you can take radius as input, but here I have just put a value right here. So, if you want to take user-defined input, you can put a prompt over there that with a printf statement that please input the radius value and then use the scanf to read that input. But we'll come to that later.
Sir, one more thing. If I hadn't used the math.h header file, I would have done this thing instead, right? I mean,
R into R. You could have done it.
Yes.
You can do it. That is all quite possible. Just to show you the various scopes, I have done it like this. Remember, there is no single unique way of doing a program. Okay, there are multiple ways, different ways you can do it. So it's up to you. And once the value of the area is printed out over here, then you can write return 0 and end the main program. So this is how a slightly more difficult or complicated program, if you want to call it difficult, can be done. Now, there are certain things here which, if you have not done C previously, which would be unknown to you. Suppose, what does this %f mean? What is the meaning of this? What is this /n mean? Why we have written comma area here? Why should we put these symbols over inside the printf? So these things may be these questions may be arising to you, but I'll just say that hold on for a bit. Let 1 or 2 more classes to pass, and we'll probably be able to explain to you why these things are like this. But right
Single
now,
quotations. Can we use single quotations also?
no. You cannot use single quotations.
Okay.
Okay. It would be double quotations. Okay. So for now, take it as it is that you have to use these things. Okay. One thing that I can mention is that because we have used float over here, that means these are real variables. That is why we have written %f over here. If we had defined these variables as int, as integer values, what would have been written here? Anybody?
%t, sir.
It should have been %t. So these things will again come across later on. It's not essential to remember it right now. We will cover these things in much more detail. Now this is another program to calculate the area of a circle with radius as input, maybe not as user input, but input within the program. So here we have used a separate function to calculate the area. Now here we see at the beginning we have these two. Those are the header files. You have this definition. Then you have in the global declaration area, a function has been defined. This is a user-defined function. What is the objective of this function? What purpose does it serve? It actually calculates the area. So how is it defined? This function area is of type float. That means it deals with real values, and its argument is r, small r, which is also of real type. Now that is the function declaration. It would be coming under this part, this global declaration. The main function, of course, again starts with int main. You have the braces, you have the radius value over here, and then you see the call up to the function. So the value returned by this function would be stored in this variable. This variable has already been defined here. So we call up the function area and supply it with this radius value. So it is going to calculate the area of the circle based on the radius value that we have provided. And where is this function? It can be defined after the main function is closed out. So you see the same thing over here. And this is the body of the function. The expression is the same as before. And here, instead of returning 0, we are returning this value. So there is linking between this and this function. So as soon as the program comes here in its execution and it finds out that the area function has been called, the control would switch to here. This will be performed, and once the value is obtained, this is going to be returned to this value. And then it will continuous
Sir,
frequency.
it will both have to have that AR, right? I mean,
Yes.
that AR is essential, right? I mean, giving that area specific name.
AR is the name of the variable. It could have been anything else. Could have been capital
No,
A, small a.
I am
Yes.
saying that in both the functions we have to.
No, not required. It could have been different. Could have been different. Okay. So here, let's say here we have written AR. This could have been AR1, AR2, something else, completely different. I cannot use area because that particular name is the name of the function. I cannot use area here because of that.
Okay.
So I could have used any other name. But remember that that particular variable should have been defined here then, and that would have to be written over here. Okay.